fellow St. Lucians, this is Openmike, and we are back today, and I have some very influential guests. I have a very influential guest with me today, His Excellency, Mr. Eric de la Mousse, who is the French ambassador to St. Lucia. We have a number of questions which we intend to pose to the ambassador. I doubt whether we'll be able to complete the agenda in its entirety, but for the sake of information, I am going to allow St. Lucians to know the areas I would like to focus upon are: since the ambassador's arrival in St. Lucia, he has worked diligently in bringing a great degree of closeness to the French islands and St. Lucia. For many years, there has always been a strong trading pattern between St. Lucia and the French islands, and in recent times, tourism has grown significantly. I have always felt that the trade and bilateral agreements between St. Lucia and Martinique in particular should be more advanced for several reasons based on proximity and culture. Martinique, with a population of close to 400,000, a large disposable GDP per capita of EC $72,000 would serve St. Lucia well. With Martinique and Guadeloupe becoming more affiliated with the OECS, what does that project for the future? We are aware of the social issues between Martinique and St. Lucia in respect to some 150 St. Lucians presently on the wrong side of the law in Martinique, which is unfortunate, but what steps we need to take to address the situation. The French medical system is of great importance to St. Lucia, but there are several challenges. Are there any possibilities of streamlining this service to assist St. Lucians who suffer from medical disorders who remain economically disadvantaged? My other questions will be posed in the second segment of this program. I now start with our first here. Since I have always felt that the trade and bilateral agreements between St. Lucia and Martinique in particular should be more advanced for several reasons based on proximity and culture. Mr. Ambassador, based on that question concerning the reasons for why trade can be improved based on our proximity and culture, what advice would you have for us?
Well, I think that Martinique and St. Lucia are very close and neighbor islands, and that's why we want to enhance the relationship between Martinique and St. Lucia on the field of trade, as you say, but not only on the field of trade, also culture, tourism, and so on. And we speak about that for a long time, you know, and everybody, since I've arrived, said, oh, it's pity, we should do that more, we should have more ties with Martinique, but what happens? So we have to take initiative to increase the exchanges between Martinique and St. Lucia. And that's why we asked to Martinique, we authorized Martinique, which is a region of France, to have relations, special relations with all the OSS countries. First of all, by belonging soon as an associated member of the OSS. And second, also to have bilateral relations with the countries of the USAS. It's on the two type of relation, two type of initiative, you know, which makes that it would be increase the economy, social, and everything, you know, that is today insufficient.
Now, how long have you been the ambassador to St. Lucia?
I've been arriving here at the end of September last year.
Yeah. Well, in my eyes, that you have done a lot to promote the trade. What is your general feeling towards improving the trade? Do you see a glimmer of hope? Are you confident that more progress can be made in bringing our, not only our cultures, but bringing some more trade to St. Lucia in that regard?
Well, I think we have, first of all, when I've been arriving, I thought it was pity that there was not better, and I didn't understand why. But I think it's not possible to do it in 1 month or 2 months or even 1 year. I think we have to settle on the table what we have to do and what are the reasons which impede that it's better, you know. So I think we have to work together with the countries, not only St. Lucia, the other countries also. That's why USS is important, to find out what can we do to progress. And then we have many things, because when you put questions to Martinicans, or when you put questions here to the people, to the government, they say we agree with that, we want to, but what are you going to do?
How are you going to do it?
How are you going to do it? So that's the question, you know. They have to meet around the table and say, problem of tax, problem of transportation, problem of connection flights, and also for example, it's not so easy to go in Martinique. It's sometimes easier from this country to go to Miami rather than to go to Fort-de-France, which is very close from here.
That's a good question, as you raise that. And that, you know, when you figure 20 years ago, we could go to Martinique 4 times a day on a Liat flight. Now that doesn't exist anymore. But we do have the Express des Îles, which makes 2 or 3 trips. And it's quite a few people moving in larger numbers. That's an area, I'm glad you brought that up, because that concerns me quite a bit. Because I just feel with the number of smaller aircrafts and in Martinique there, and the ability to fly, could there not be some sort of an extra bit of attention given so we can have some extra airlift? I know Air Carib comes over, but that's a different thing. It's a big company. Sometimes, you know, if you could get even like 2 to 3 flights a day with 15 people each, it would help us tremendously. Do you think there's any chance of that ever becoming possible?
Well, I think first of all, it will be a good thing if we speak with Liat to know exactly what can they do to make better than they do now. That first of all. Second of all, I think it would be better if there were discussions between Liat and Air Carib, RNT Express, they come in here from Martinique, but I don't think they are working together as well as that, you know. And I think maybe we can open a discussion to find out if there is no competition between them, because there's a competition. So sometimes you have 2 flights coming in St. Lucia at the same day, at the same hour, nearly the same hour, and for 2 days you have nothing. Correct. For example, I would like, as ambassador of France, you know, to go often to Martinique. I would like to go the morning and come back the evening. It's not possible. Now it's not possible. So it should be possible. And I think also the chief of companies and chairmen and members of governments and so on, politicians and artists and everybody would like to go to Martinique and come back, because we don't have time to
and plus it's expensive to overnight in a hotel.
And it is expensive, yes.
Now, you know, it's funny you should also bring that up. We have just spent a tremendous amount of money with France by buying all our ATRs, which is a French plane. It's like 156 million US dollars. On that score alone, could not the French be a little more sympathetic and say, you know, well, you know, the thing about the ATRs, I'm not what you call an aviation expert, but I've been but I've been informed that on such a short flight, by the time the plane gets up, it's ready to come down, and it's very bad for the plane to do that. So the ATR is not the proper aircraft to use between St. Lucia and Martinique because of the short distance. But I'm asking you a question today, based on the fact that we have showed good faith by investing that amount of money with France. Don't you think the French authorities, through, I mean, their conglomerates and the owners of ATRs, you know, put in a good word for St. Lucia, whereby they can have a smaller aircraft fill in exactly what you just said here? Because, you know, there was something, we had, there's a plane called, I think it's a Dornier, and it's about a 20-seater, you know, and if something could be done at a higher level between our government and your government, as you said, even 2 flights a day to ensure that people can go in the morning and come back in the afternoon would be wonderful. Yeah.
So I think, first of all, I think I will answer you for the flight.
Yes.
But of course, we can speak also about the sea, because I think you can have Express des Îles. You speak about Express des Îles, but Express des Îles could have it could come more often. You know, why not each day? And first of all, and then Express des Îles, the problem is when you arrive in St. Lucia, it is very long to go out the harbor.
Very long.
And very people complain to us, you know, in the
Yes.
embassy to say, I'm happy to come from Martinique to visit St. Lucia, but it's too long to wait 1 hour because there's not enough people at the harbor.
Correct.
When you go to the airport, it's easier, you know, it's much easier to go through know, the airport. But that's
but
first of all, I think
you are very correct. I've heard that complaint before, and I hope those that are listening to our program will understand that, because you know on such a short distance, sometimes you have 200 people coming in there. We need to expedite that process. I agree.
And the second thing about the flight,
Yes.
I think I wanted to tell you now that I explained at the beginning that we had cooperation between Martinique and St. Lucia on 2 fields, on USAS and bilateral also. The Prime Minister signed an agreement about 2 months ago with the Regional Council of Martinique. I will explain you if you want the different regional council, because in France it's not so easy to understand how we work.
Right.
But about the flight and the transportation, they are going to, in this agreement, they can speak about many things, you know, many subjects.
Right.
And that's one of the subjects that could be, you know, to discuss between the people of the Regional Council of Martinique and people of here to help the civil aviation in France to find out if they can, as you say, provide a smaller plane.
Yeah.
Maybe why
just
not?
A simple
but
thing
I
like
think
that.
that's one of the discussion they can have. And they can have discussion on many topics, and that's one of the topics they can have.
Fantastic. Well, we really look forward to such an agreement coming through, because, you know, I hate to see our islands move backwards. 20 years ago, we could go to Martinique 3-4 times a day, and it's ridiculous now, you know. And sometimes, you know, people get ill, for that matter, and then they want to get over quickly, and you have to charter a plane, it's expensive and so forth, you know. Well, Mr. Ambassador, I think you have dealt with the first question very, very proficiently, and I want to thank you for that. Now, one of the areas which I want to focus upon is, you know, Martinique is so very close to us. And when I look at the per capita income of a Frenchman in Martinique, if my information is correct, it's like 72,000 EC dollars a year, which is a lot of money. I think in St. Lucia, if I'm not mistaken, it's like $6,000. So you're talking 12 times. Now, when you have a population with that sort of spending power, you know, I know it's not all theirs, but it would be great to utilize, have those people come over. I mean, being a small hotelier in St. Lucia, I speak for myself, we are very fortunate in having quite a few Martinicans come over at weekends, because it is so inexpensive versus Martinique, because of Martinique is a department of France, so consequently you have the standard of living is higher, and the spending, the power is greater, so they can come over, because I've talked to many Martinicans who come over, and it's actually cheaper to come and spend a weekend in St. Lucia than going to a place in Martinique, you know. So on that score, I'm just asking you again, based on that information, how do you see St. Lucia can benefit from such a situation?
Well, I think, you know, you say that the income in Martinique is more important than in St. Lucia.
Yeah,
that's an evidence.
It's actually 12 times.
That's an evidence. But I think also you have add value with your touristic equipment. I think you can. The people coming in here, you have a project, you have a proposal for them, which is different than in Martinique. I think you can have a cooperation with Martinique to help them to be better in tourism, and they can help you by people coming in your hotel. Because you know they travel and they have a produce different than in Martinique, so it's I think it's good for them.
Yeah, good. Well, St. Lucia, this is the end of our first segment, and we'll be right back.